What if I told you that the person you love is not the only one thinking about you right now? Two other people are discussing you, judging you, analyzing your every move, and their opinions may be shaping the future of your connection. One of these friends sees something special in you, the other sees a problem, and the person you care about is standing in the middle, trying to decide which voice to trust. But what happens next may completely change the direction of this relationship. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share in the comments. Have you ever felt that someone else's opinion affected a relationship in your life? Your experience may resonate with more people than you think. The influence of close friends is often far more powerful than most people realize. When someone begins to develop deep feelings, they rarely experience those emotions in complete isolation. They naturally turn to the people they trust most, seeking guidance, reassurance, or validation. This is especially true when the connection feels meaningful and emotionally significant. The person you love may be sharing details about you with close friends, discussing your conversations, your actions, and even the feelings they struggle to express directly. Every compliment, concern, and observation from those friends can quietly shape how they interpret the relationship. What makes this dynamic so complex is that friends do not view you through the same emotional lens as the person who loves you. They see fragments of the story rather than the entire picture. One friend may notice your strengths, your sincerity, and the positive impact you have. Another may focus on potential risks, past experiences, or fears that have little to do with who you truly are. These differing perspectives create a psychological tug-of-war that influences decision-making. The person caught in the middle may begin questioning feelings that once seemed clear, or delaying actions they were ready to take. As a result, their behavior can appear inconsistent. They may move closer one moment and become distant the next. What looks like uncertainty may actually be the result of competing voices echoing in their mind, while their own heart is trying to determine which perspective deserves the greatest trust and attention. The situation becomes even more complicated when the two friends hold completely opposite opinions about you. One friend may genuinely believe that you are exactly what this person needs. They see qualities that inspire trust, emotional stability, and long-term potential. Whenever your name comes up, they highlight your strengths and encourage the relationship to move forward. They may remind the person you love about the happiness they feel around you, the comfort they experience in your presence, and the opportunities that could emerge if they allow themselves to be vulnerable. This friend acts as a quiet source of encouragement, reinforcing positive feelings that already exist beneath the surface. The other friend, however, sees the situation through a different lens. Their concerns may come from personal experiences, protective instincts, or assumptions that have little connection to reality. They may question your intentions, point out perceived flaws, or warn about risks that might never occur. Sometimes these concerns are sincere, while other times they are influenced by jealousy, fear of change, or an unconscious desire to maintain the status quo. Regardless of the motive, their words carry weight because they come from someone trusted. As these opposing viewpoints continue to collide, the person you love finds themselves caught between two competing narratives. One voice urges them to trust their feelings, while the other encourages caution and hesitation. This inner conflict can create delays, mixed signals, and emotional inconsistency, leaving the relationship suspended between possibility and uncertainty, while a deeper decision slowly takes shape. Being caught between loyalty and emotion creates a conflict that many people never openly discuss. The person you love may genuinely care about you, yet at the same time feel a strong sense of responsibility toward the friends who have supported them through important moments in life. These friendships were built over years of trust, shared experiences, and emotional reliance. Because of that history, dismissing their opinions is not as easy as simply following the heart. Even when someone knows what they feel, they may struggle to move forward if trusted voices are pulling them in different directions. This conflict often begins quietly. A friend expresses concern, raises a question, or points out a possibility that had never been considered before. Suddenly, what once felt simple becomes complicated. The person starts examining every interaction more closely. They replay conversations, analyze intentions, and search for signs that support one viewpoint or the other. Their feelings remain real, but uncertainty begins to grow around them. What makes this struggle especially intense is that neither side feels completely wrong. Loyalty tells them to respect the advice of people who care about them. Emotion tells them that their connection with you deserves a chance to unfold naturally. As these forces compete, hesitation often appears. They may become harder to read, less decisive, or unexpectedly distant. To others, it can seem like they are changing their mind, but internally, they are attempting to satisfy two powerful needs at once. Honoring the people they trust, while remaining honest about what their heart continues to feel whenever thoughts of you arise. Outside opinions have a remarkable ability to create confusion, especially when someone is already emotionally invested. The person you love may have once felt certain about their feelings, but repeated input from others can gradually introduce doubt where none previously existed. It rarely happens all at once. Instead, it begins with small comments, casual observations, or subtle warnings that linger in the mind long after the conversation ends. Over time, these external voices start competing with personal intuition, making it harder to distinguish what is genuinely felt from what has been suggested by others. When this happens, decisions that should be simple become difficult. A message that should be sent remains unsent. A conversation that should take place gets postponed. Feelings that should be expressed stay hidden. The person may convince themselves they need more time, more evidence, or more certainty before taking action. In reality, they are often trying to resolve the tension between their own emotions and the perspectives they have absorbed from those around them. This delay can be frustrating for both people involved. You may sense interest, but struggle to understand why nothing progresses. One moment, they seem engaged and hopeful, and the next they appear hesitant or withdrawn. Their behavior can feel contradictory because they are navigating multiple influences at once. While their heart may be urging them toward connection, outside opinions continue to raise questions and concerns. As a result, movement slows, not because feelings have disappeared, but because uncertainty has taken root, forcing them to spend far more time evaluating a decision that once felt much clearer than it does now. Not every negative opinion comes from a place of wisdom or genuine concern. Sometimes the strongest judgments are shaped by emotions that have little to do with you. Jealousy and projection are two of the most powerful psychological forces that can influence how people view a relationship. A friend may believe they are offering honest advice, yet their perspective can be colored by unresolved experiences, personal insecurities, or fears they have never fully confronted. Instead of seeing you as you truly are, they unconsciously interpret you through the lens of their own history. Projection occurs when someone attributes their past disappointments, betrayals, or emotional wounds to a situation that is entirely different. If they once trusted the wrong person, they may become suspicious of anyone new. If they experienced heartbreak, they may expect heartbreak to happen again. Without realizing it, they begin treating their personal story as a universal truth. Their warnings sound convincing because they are emotionally charged, but they may reveal more about their own fears than about your character. Jealousy can be even more subtle. A friend may fear losing influence, attention, or emotional closeness as the relationship grows stronger. They may not consciously want to interfere, yet they feel uncomfortable with the changes taking place. This discomfort can lead them to focus on flaws, exaggerate concerns, or question motives that do not deserve suspicion. The person you love may not immediately recognize these influences. They hear the confidence behind the advice and assume it must be accurate. Yet as time passes, they often begin noticing a difference between the negative picture being described and the reality they continue experiencing whenever they think about you or interact with you. No matter how strong outside influences may seem, Genuine feelings have a way of testing every opinion placed against them. Advice from friends can create hesitation, raise questions, and even delay important decisions. But emotions that are authentic rarely disappear simply because someone else disapproves. The person you love may spend weeks or even months trying to make sense of conflicting viewpoints. They may listen carefully to warnings, consider every concern, and attempt to view the situation from multiple angles. Yet throughout this process, one thing remains difficult to ignore: the reality of what they actually feel whenever thoughts of you enter their mind. This is where an important psychological shift begins. Instead of relying entirely on the perspectives of others, they start comparing those opinions to their own experiences. They remember conversations that felt meaningful, moments that created comfort, and interactions that left a lasting impression. The more they reflect on what they have personally witnessed, the more difficult it becomes to accept conclusions that do not match their reality. Gradually, external voices lose some of their power. This does not mean the conflict disappears overnight. Doubt can still appear, and uncertainty may still surface from time to time. However, a deeper sense of clarity begins emerging beneath the confusion. The person starts recognizing that no friend, no matter how trusted, experiences the connection in the same way they do. What once seemed like convincing advice may now feel incomplete. As this realization grows stronger, they become more willing to trust their own perceptions. The relationship is no longer being evaluated solely through the opinions of others, but through the direct emotional experiences that continue proving themselves impossible to dismiss. One of the most misunderstood signals in any relationship is silence. When communication slows down, messages become less frequent, or emotional expression seems to disappear, people often assume the worst. They conclude that interest has faded, feelings have changed, or the connection is coming to an end. Yet silence does not always indicate rejection. In many cases, it reflects an internal struggle that has not yet been resolved. The person you love may be experiencing a period of deep reflection, trying to make sense of conflicting emotions and outside influences before deciding how to move forward. When someone feels torn between their heart and the opinions surrounding them, they often retreat inward. Rather than acting impulsively, they begin observing, thinking, and analyzing. They replay conversations, examine memories, and question their assumptions. This process can create a noticeable pause in outward behavior. To the person waiting on the other side, that pause feels like distance. However, internally, significant emotional activity may still be taking place. Silence can also emerge from fear. The person may worry about making the wrong choice, saying the wrong thing, or exposing feelings they are not yet ready to defend. If trusted friends have planted doubts or concerns, they may feel pressure to proceed carefully. Instead of expressing what they truly feel, they hold those emotions inside while searching for certainty. What appears to be withdrawal may actually be a sign that the situation matters more than it seems. People rarely spend substantial time wrestling with emotions they do not value. While silence can be frustrating and confusing, it often signals that an important inner conflict is unfolding, one that requires time before clarity can finally emerge and guide the next step. Every period of uncertainty eventually reaches a turning point. No matter how many opinions surround a situation, there comes a moment when the person you love realizes that a decision can no longer be postponed. The voices of friends, family, and outside observers may continue offering guidance, but those perspectives begin losing their dominance as reality becomes impossible to ignore. The heart starts demanding an answer that cannot be found in someone else's advice. It can only be discovered through personal truth and direct experience. This turning point often arrives unexpectedly. It may be triggered by a meaningful conversation, a moment of absence, a sudden realization, or even the fear of losing something important. The person begins recognizing that they have spent so much time evaluating external opinions that they have neglected the one perspective that matters most. their own. They understand that no friend can fully experience their emotions, feel their connection, or live with the consequences of their choices. As this awareness grows, confidence slowly replaces confusion. Questions that once seemed overwhelming start becoming clearer. Doubts that were borrowed from others begin losing their emotional weight. The person no longer feels compelled to seek constant approval before trusting what they know inside. Instead, they become more willing to accept the risks that come with following their genuine feelings. This does not guarantee a perfect outcome, but it creates something far more important: authenticity. Decisions made from personal truth carry a different energy than decisions made from fear or outside pressure. When that moment arrives, the influence of competing opinions fades into the background, and what remains is the undeniable voice of the heart asking to be heard at last. In the end, what looks like confusion from the outside is often a silent negotiation happening within. The presence of two strong opposing voices around your name may slow things down, may create hesitation, and may even distort clarity for a time, but it cannot permanently override what someone genuinely feels. External opinions can shape thoughts, but they cannot replace lived emotional experience. When a connection is real, it continues to echo beneath every doubt, every warning, and every attempt to rationalize it away. Eventually, the noise around the situation begins to fade, not because the opinions disappear, but because their influence weakens in the face of personal truth. The person is left with a simple but unavoidable realization: no one else is living their emotions for them. No friend, no matter how trusted, will carry the weight of their decisions or experience the consequences of choosing incorrectly. That responsibility always belongs to the one whose heart is actually involved. And when that realization settles in, clarity begins to rise from within. What once felt complicated starts becoming honest. What once felt uncertain starts becoming defined. The final decision is no longer driven by competing voices, but by the quiet recognition of what feels real when everything else is stripped away. In that moment, truth becomes louder than influence, and the heart finally speaks without interruption.